When you first start as a social media manager, it's important to validate your services or your offerings that you are wanting to send out to your potential clients. One of the most important steps for any business when you're starting is actually to make sure that there is a demand. So if you go onto social media, for example, and you go search social media manager, are there a lot of people? This does not mean that the market is too saturated. This just means that there is a market or a need for social media managers. The purpose of validating your services before you start offering it is to make sure that you can get into the mind of your ideal client without knowing what they're thinking, without knowing what their pain points are. You will not be able to get inside their mind. If you are a social media manager and you've been doing it for a couple of months or even years and you have not validated your services, I would highly recommend that you do not skip this masterclass. I want you to really go into it knowing exactly what it is that you want, who you want to help, and how you can help them without them thinking that, she's not for me, or he's not for me. With any business, to be successful, you need to know who it is that you want to help, how you can help them, what their pain points are, and what the results will be if they work with you. The moment you have surveyed your ideal client, now remember, you can survey as many people as you want, but if you are not speaking to your ideal client, the results that you will get from the survey might not necessarily be as helpful as you would want. So if you're going to focus on helping lodges or helping restaurants, I would recommend getting into groups where those ideal clients are hanging out, or literally go and see if you can actually speak to the owners. By knowing what your ideal client wants, you will no longer hear crickets. You will have people wanting to work with you because you understand them. You will have people following you and engaging with your content because they know that you understand their needs. When it comes to validating, I always recommend putting it together on a platform like SurveyMonkey or Google Docs. And you kind of want to reverse engineer the process. With the end in mind, what questions do you need your ideal client to answer for you to get that end result? With a survey, you obviously don't want to overwhelm your ideal client. You want to focus on firstly getting to know who they are, how you can make contact with them, and even maybe ask for their social media handle so you can go check them out and engage on their content. The second part of the survey is obviously more neutral questions. So you want to get to know them. What do they like? What does a day in their business look like? What are their interests in their business? What are they passionate about as a business? All those type of things to get more information about where they are currently at. Number 3 would be to make sure that you know what are their dreams, what are their goals for their business, what are their goals for their online presence, which platforms do they want to be on for social media, all those type of things, so that you are able to then go and create the questions to lead up to that. Number 4, and this is where you start talking about what is the pain points, what is stopping them from achieving their results. So you're almost taking them on a journey, getting to know them, seeing where they are currently at, where they want to be, and then you hit them with, why are you not there yet? What is stopping you from getting there? So that's a very important part of the survey so that you can understand how your office can offer the solution for your ideal client. And then there you go. As I said, you will have the perfect solution for your ideal client, and they will be like, how did you know this is the solution I need? Now that can be whether they want you to be able to record TikToks for them. Can you plan out TikToks? Can you edit TikToks? Can you create content with the captions and the graphics and everything like that? Or is your ideal client just looking for someone to schedule the content out? Are they maybe just looking for someone just to create the captions and they want to schedule it out? Do they need engagement? All those type of things, because there's no point in creating these big packages that does not speak to what they are looking for. So bear that in mind as you go through the process. When it comes to putting together your market research, I don't want you to go and say, I know what they need, and assume certain things about your ideal client, because that's the worst thing you can do. So your questions need to be open-ended. So you don't just want yes and no answers. You really want them to use certain words. You really want them to describe what they are going through, where they want to be, what is happening in their business at the moment, so that you can pick up certain words that they might be repeating, so that you can use those same type of words in your content when you are creating content for yourself on social media. So for example, instead of asking them, why do you find social media frustrating? Because now you are assuming that they are finding it frustrating. Maybe they just don't have time for it. Instead, you can ask them, what are your goals when it comes to your online presence? What are your goals when it comes to your social media platforms? That way it will give you a better idea of what it is that they're looking for, rather than you just assuming that they find social media frustrating. You want to make sure that you are paying attention to the words that they are using. Is there any words that they are repeating? Make a little word bank for yourself and refer back to those words so that when you create content, that you use similar language in your content to what your ideal client is already using in the survey. When it comes to actually sharing these surveys, you need to be very careful where you share it. So firstly, make sure that you are sharing it in platforms where your ideal clients are hanging out. And then also make sure that it is actually allowed, because sometimes admins only allow survey or research on certain days. So make sure that you are aware of those days. Also make sure that you are actually adding value before you ask. So go and engage with content in the groups, go and make some friendships in the group, and so people will start referring you as well. And then also have a look at, if you are looking at restaurants or lodges, who are your ideal client that's literally in your area that you can go pop over, maybe speak to the manager and have a conversation with them. That way you can literally go and say, okay, I have done my survey. I now know what my ideal client is looking for. So as I mentioned, if you had to break your survey down, I would say not more than 10 questions at a time. You'll start with your contact information, so name, email address, social media handle. So number 2 would be your more neutral questions. There you can ask, what does your current content creation routine look like? What are you looking for before you start looking for a social media manager? What comes to mind when you think of social media management? All those type of questions, just to get to know how they feel about social media and also what they are currently doing to get their presence out there. So then it comes to their goals and their vision for their brands. You can literally ask them, what are your goals when it comes to social media management or your social media presence? You can also ask a question like, a year from now, where do you see your content going? Where do you see your social media presence going? This is where, if someone says to you they want to have 10,000 followers in a year, but they only want 1 or 2 posts a week, you can already see that there's a red flag, because 1 or 2 posts obviously is not going to get them 10,000 followers in a year. The 4th section is their pain points. So here you can ask, what have you already tried to achieve these goals? What is your biggest struggle when it comes to achieving your goals? What are your biggest fears when it comes to achieving your goals? So kind of finding out what is holding them back from achieving the goals that they want for their social media. And then the 5th part is obviously where you are then able to offer them the perfect solution. And be realistic. If you are not good at editing, if you do not feel comfortable in editing, then say, sorry, that's not something I offer. If you are not comfortable in LinkedIn, and this is something that I wish I knew when I started, focus on the platforms where you are comfortable. Just because you can share all your content across all platforms doesn't mean it actually works. Like if you are going to take something from Instagram, share it on LinkedIn, some of it might be relevant, most of it won't be. But then comes the problem is, how do you actually grow their LinkedIn presence if you do not know how LinkedIn works? So for the month of September, I really want you to focus on getting a couple of surveys out there. Use SurveyMonkey, use Google Docs, create your survey, and then get that information and see, are you on the right track? Are you attracting the right people with the skill sets that you've got? Obviously, a lot of people will want a whole bunch of different things. A lot of times people will rather hire 2 or 3 people to make sure that their marketing is done right, rather than putting it on one person that might not be as experienced in everything. That could be, if you're not that great with engagement, then don't offer engagement, but guide maybe the client on how to do their own engagement efficiently so that they can still get those leads coming in. That is all for today's masterclass. I hope you enjoyed today's masterclass. Let me know if you've got any questions and I'll happily answer them for you. Bye now.